Well, the Blaze of Silver setting usually only plays in one summer vacation. The world of the Blaze of Silver is likely is 7 billion years old, and most of that you will never learn about. No, I will just give a quick rundown about 10 or 11 ages the world of the 10 has had. We start with the first age, the age of emptiness, where the 10 was divided by the 10 elements: earth, fire, spirit, air, water, salt, steel, forest or wood, flesh, and acid. This is likely the longest age, where one of our main characters is likely very alone and probably had another mindset. Some billion years later, the age of countless empires begins, and that is what it implies. There were a lot of cultures on each elemental site called continents. The continents are divided by elements in the 10th section. It's another world, so other rules. The third age is the age of the 10 empires. Because, well, those countless empires were cells. And at the time, the cells worked together until living creatures were created. And as our god, human Ryan, can or could communicate with the cells in the creature's bodies, his idea of genocide is a much different than you and me. Because in his eyes, one person dying is already a disaster of lives. So what does a few more? Well, in that third age, the 10 is of course divided by 10 empires led by 10 creatures: the giants, the genies, the minotaurs, the elves, or in this case, the forebears of the elves, the snakes, strange enough. Yes, in this world, elves are, yeah, Naga. So it's a reverse part for World War with Warcraft, if you can see it that way. Water is, of course, with the water elementals. Because, well, the salt is shellfish, mostly unmoving clams at that time. The steel continent has the 10 versions of beholders, but in this case they're just iron balls that move around in the continent of steel by electricity, so they're natural railroad systems. Yeah. And the wood is by trans of 3 men, mostly trans. Flesh is by flesh elementals, or we could say it is the predecessors of the trolls. And the acid, well, there is slime, and the rest, but All living things, except for one kind of thing, are a result of one of those elements. But it's a quick rundown, so we will skip it there. The fourth age is the Age of Tears, and that will cause when those 10 empires go to war. It's called the Age of Tears because the the continent of Campan was buying slaves from the continent of Earth, from the genies, and those slaves were also, of course, fire elementals, but those slaves were the dwarfs. And well, they were supposed to make a trap to conquer the other things, but they sprung the trap earlier to escape their imprisonment. And well, that trap was a big canal they digged into the continent of Campan that caused water to engulf the salt continent, with with more force than was anticipated. So it also ran into the Ascent continent and back to the water, and also destroyed most of this air continent. And with that, the water continent was so polluted that everything died in the water continent. Maybe not everything, but as far as the world would know, yeah, everything was gone. And the same, but the most was with the salt continent because he had the most root of the force. Well, this caused Yuan Ra, who loved the continents dearly, to start an phase of grief that caused the air to rain with silver. So that is also the time silver, in this case natural silver, was brought to the world. It's also that parts of the other parts of the Parfume rack could also contain silver, but those are black silver. And the most pure are mithril, and most of the black one are mithril. With this pure silver in most fantasy settings. Well, the Age of Tears ends with Yunra recovering and killing most of the leaders of the 10 empires. With that, he decided to adopt the elves to bring them into the 5th age. In this case, the first age of restoration, where he tried to restore balance to the continents. Finally or not. So much died in that world. And in this case, most and only Yunra remained to tell the tale, because most of those even died of old age at that time. There's so much time between that. That age ended with the 6th age, the age of the moon goddess. The goddess Kusva wasn't of that world, the same as Yunra, and well, she was rampaging over the world, causing most of the iron would have also been affected by the water. Well, that would have rusted the iron thing. But the biggest thing that Kusva did was mingling. So in that case, there were barely any pure elementals running around. it would also cause the real unnatural thing that anything can interbreed with each other if they want, as long as it's living. So crocodiles and guinea pigs could produce children if the sex was possible. If they mentally they had to have sex with each other, of course. But Husva was, of course, defeated, imprisoned, and her base, her own planet, is the scarred moon in the sky. It was, and the other moon is, of course, the depleted energy of Lunra, and the sun is the other energy. Well, Lunra is three persons in this case, but one of them has already died. And it was before the emptiness age, so that's a really, really long time. But well, I don't expect any people to read this, but okay. After that, the seventh age started, which is known as the second age of restoration, or in this case, as the people that survived it, or descended of the survivors at that time, also called the first, just the age of restoration. Runra really, really let loose about wanting to restore his precious, how we'd like to call it, his gardens back to the original state. That age ended when Yunra was killed and defeated, or defeated because he later returned. Well, the next age is also called the first age by many or all. Is the first age of strife, where, well, there was a power vacuum, and most of them, the most power was unstable for the first million years. Yes, the last from now on we go for only a million years. The second or the ninth age, or in this case for the survivors who had to lie that the world was only 2 million years old at now time. So the second age is the age of shards, where the first powerful elven kingdoms or empires were created. A myth of that age, and that age ended with the War of the Hand, which is the war between dwarves and elves, or in this case, the war between elves and dwarves and orcs. It was in their eyes, but not really, the First World War. Not to confuse with our First World War, but because there is 1525 years between that and now. At least the Brace for Silver World. Are we still recording? Yeah, I think so. The third age, or the 10th age, is the age of the hand, because it was a new age telling, so it was back to 0. And well, technically, it was for most it's still the age of the hand, but when Yunra returned and the story started, it's technically the 4th age. which hasn't a name, because it's too early to give it a name. You usually give the age when it finishes. Well, I hope that didn't bore you too much, but I really wanted to have something quick today. Yeah, I say I didn't want to draw something, but let's be honest, we probably have to draw to something to make it good. But okay, this is it for this week. We will see what the next week begins. But for most of March, I will go to the Cryptech world. So probably I will bore you with the same, but then for the Cryptech things, a quick rundown. Well, alright.